Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking to you about my breastfeeding journey, which I'm really excited about. I've been talking about this in a bunch of my other videos. It's finally here, I'm finally doing it, and I'm really excited to share my journey with you guys. But before I get started, I'm going to get myself a cup of water because I always get really thirsty when I film. So let's do that first. We just have to sneak past our room because Saoirse's sleeping in there. That should work. Okay, got all my stuff. Got my water, notebook, Bible, phone. Let's do this. My daughter is napping, so this is like a prime film time. I'm so excited about this. She's kind of getting into a better pattern with her napping, so praying that that stays the same. She's currently going through the 4-month sleep regression, which is hard, but we're getting through it. Prayerfully, it won't last too much longer. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up, as well as hit the subscribe button down below. That really helps my channel. So like I said, today I'm going to be talking about my breastfeeding journey. Now, this is honestly really vulnerable for me and really hard to talk about because it has been way harder than I thought it was going to be. I don't really know even where to begin or how to synopsize what we've been through in the last 4 months, but I'm going to do my best. I feel really strongly about sharing my story and being really honest and real with you guys because it's not easy. Breastfeeding is really hard. I just think more people should understand that. You can see behind me, this is the little like yarn garland that I made for her. I love it. I think it goes so well. I'm not a super crafty person. Any crafts that turn out fairly well, I'm like really proud of. Also, I am loving this linen shirt that I got this weekend. I found this at a yard sale. It's literally brand new. The woman who ran the garage sale owns this boutique here in Bend, and she's a buyer there, and she gets rid of stuff that doesn't sell, and this is one of the pieces that she was selling. It has this really gorgeous detailing, like a lace detailing around the neck and then the shoulders. I, since giving birth, have been kind of insecure about my arms. I just feel like they're kind of flabby and bigger. Working through that insecurity, I think they're really pretty and really flattering and just make me feel a little bit more confident about my arms. And the baby's awake. I've honestly been meaning to make this video for about a month now and just haven't had the like emotional energy to get started on it. So I'm really excited to share this with you guys now. To get us started, I actually want to share a scripture with you guys that has brought me a lot of comfort over the last year, from going through a miscarriage last June to going through a pregnancy this year, and that was a long, fairly challenging pregnancy. I won't say very challenging, but it had its challenges, and the scripture really brought me a lot of comfort. It is Isaiah chapter 40 verse 11. He will tend his flock like a shepherd. He will gather the lambs in his arms. He will carry them in his bosom and gently lead those that are with young. And other translations say the mothers with their young. And I just love that verse so much. It brings me a lot of comfort that God is gently leading us mamas into his restful peace. It is International Breastfeeding Week. When is a better time to make a video about breastfeeding than in Breastfeeding Week? The celebration is basically to encourage breastfeeding for at least the first 6 months of life, as well as up to 1 or even 2 or more years after your child is born. Now, let's be honest. Breastfeeding is very hard. Some women have a very easy breastfeeding journey. I did not. It takes a lot of time and a lot of perseverance. So I want to share my story with you guys. If you watched my birth story video, which I will link down below, you heard that I had a very long labor. Like, it was basically 2.5 days of labor before she was born. I went in on a Thursday and got induced at 6 p.m. My daughter was born Saturday at 10 p.m. Long labors can actually impact when and how your milk comes in. It took over 5 days for my milk to come in after my daughter was born. That is considered delayed. When we were in the hospital, she latched right away. We both had really just great anatomy. The lactation specialist in the hospital had no concerns at all that everything was going to go perfectly according to plan. but it did not. Because Saoirse also had jaundice in the beginning, it was super important that we get her fed very well and that she's really excreting all of the bilirubin from her system. And you do that through feeding and through the baby pooping. And so if she's not getting fed enough, she's not pooping enough, and the jaundice can get worse. So because my milk wasn't coming in, her jaundice was starting to get worse, and we were really nervous, and she was losing weight. Honestly, the first week of her life was one of the most stressful weeks of my life. Not just because we had a newborn in the house, but because of the health challenges and scary stuff that can go along with that. Even after my milk came in, I still had a very low supply. It was not enough to feed her, and that was so disheartening to me. And we decided to start supplementing her with formula to make sure that she was going to be growing properly and getting rid of the jaundice. We ended up supplementing for about the first 3 months of her life. I don't have any guilt or anything against formula at all. I just felt so much stress and fear over not being able to feed my baby what she needed and her getting sicker. Oh, it was heartbreaking, you guys. Like, I could cry. I did cry a lot that week. I cried to my lactation specialist that day. She was wondering, like, how are you feeling? How are you really doing with all of this? And I just broke down in tears, and I told her, like, I just want her to be okay. I don't care about myself. I don't care about how I feel about formula or breastfeeding or any of that. I just care about her being okay. Okay, I'm back. Speaking of breastfeeding, I just have to go nurse my daughter, and now I'm back. Where did I leave off? Oh yes, retained placenta. So after I gave birth, you know, you deliver the placenta, and I actually really was curious and I wanted to see it. So I had the nurse to bring it over, and we kind of like poked and prodded at it, and I even snapped a couple photos. After giving birth, if you have any placenta left inside of your uterus, even as small as the size of the head of an eraser, that small of an amount of placenta left inside of your uterus can tell your body hormonally that you're still pregnant and will delay your milk coming in, or it will reduce your milk supply significantly. Guess what I had? Retained placenta. Now I found this out because of my lactation specialist, and she said, I really think you have retained placenta. I would really encourage you to talk to your OB and ask her if you can get an ultrasound done and get to the bottom of this. So I called my OB, asked her about it, and she was actually very strange about it. She was kind of defensive and said, like, no, that's very unlikely. I never have lactation specialists tell me. I'm sure that's not it, but if you need to really know for sure, then I guess we can schedule an ultrasound just so that you can hear it from someone else that you don't have that. Guys, advocate for yourself. I got that ultrasound done, and sure enough, I had a significant amount of tissue left. Unfortunately, when you have retained placenta, in order to get it out so that your milk can come in faster, you have to get a D&C. I'm not going to go into detail about everything that goes into a D&C, but it is very painful, especially when you are 4 weeks postpartum. Yeah. I decided that I wanted to switch to a different practitioner. So I switched to a woman who is a nurse/midwife practitioner. She was amazing and so supportive. She performed the D&C for me, and I was so grateful that I switched to her because she was so gentle and so kind. Unfortunately, the last piece of my story is that even after getting the D&C aspiration and removing a significant amount of blood and tissue, it still did not help my milk supply. I really kind of grieved that. I felt like I was exploring every option possible. I wanted to nurse so badly. My milk was so delayed coming in, and I had a really low supply. Luckily, I was able to talk with my lactation specialist and talk with my nurse midwife. They introduced me to a medication that I will not name here because I'm not a professional and I don't want to advocate for medication, but it significantly helped my supply. I started taking that medication around 6 or 7 weeks postpartum, and by 3 months postpartum, we were solely nursing. For the last month, we have not been doing any formula. We have not been needing to do any supplementing of breast milk from pumping or bottles or anything like that. We've been solely nursing. It's so worth it. I love nursing her so much. My journey was really long and painful and took a lot of perseverance and a lot of determination, but I'm so grateful that I did persevere through all of that discomfort and stress and all of those things. because now I get to nurse her solely. I no longer have the stress of having to take clean bottles with me and wash bottles and wash all the parts to the pumping pieces, and all of that was just so overwhelming to me. And so now just knowing that everywhere I go she has food is like the biggest stress relief to me imaginable. So I want to share a couple pieces of advice for you guys after you have now heard my very long, very stressful, very intense nursing story. I think most women probably would have given up before I did if it wasn't for a few of these things that I want to share with you. So my first piece of advice is find people who believe you and who support you. If the last year has taught me anything, it is to find medical professionals who will actually support you and believe what you're telling them, who really will advocate for you and who will help you find what you're looking for. For me, that was a great nurse midwife, an amazing lactation specialist who talked to me like she was a sister. She was very honest with me and really supported me. I just don't think I could have gotten through without it. Also, having a partner, having a spouse who is so helpful like that, who will grab you food, grab you water, grab your phone, whatever you need, stuff a pillow wherever you need a pillow stuffed under the baby's head or something. A parent, anybody, just finding a support group. Have people surrounding you who really do support you and believe you and want what you want for yourself. My second piece of advice is know what you want and why. I really desired to breastfeed. Now, more than what I wanted for myself, I wanted my daughter to be healthy and to be happy and growing. So for me, that meant that I needed to supplement and I needed to go through a couple of painful experiences to get to a place where I could solely nurse her. But if I didn't know why I wanted that, if I didn't understand the benefits of breastfeeding, if I didn't understand the importance and just to me the bonding experience of nursing, I would have given up a long time ago. If you really want to breastfeed, make sure you know what you want and why. The third piece of advice is don't be too hard on yourself. Give yourself a lot of grace. It's probably not going to go the way that you planned. If you can't produce the milk that you want, don't be hard on yourself. It is not your fault. There are so many things that go into nursing that make it challenging. The fourth piece of advice that I have is to keep in mind that fed is best. There's this old saying that breast is best, and while yes, that is true, breast milk is going to give your kid the best nutrition possible. What's most important is that they're fed. However they need to be fed, if it's formula, if it's breast milk, if it's donated breast milk, whatever you need to do to feed your kid, do that. Make sure that they're fed. That's what's most important. My fifth piece of advice is get an excellent lactation specialist. A specialist who feels like a sister to you, who will advocate for you, who you feel supported by and believed in, who has the time for you. Make sure that you find an excellent lactation specialist and go to her as often as you need. I say her because I probably wouldn't go to a male lactation specialist, but that's just me. You may be totally open to that. But whatever you choose, find a great specialist and go to them as often as you need. Please. I went to the lactation specialist probably at least once, if sometimes twice a week for the first 6 weeks of her life. I'm not even joking. And then from 6 weeks to 3 months, I went every other week. I don't know how many that is altogether, but that's a lot of appointments with your specialist, and it would be really easy to feel embarrassed or shameful, like, oh, why am I not getting this already? Why is this so hard? And I don't want to go back to her. It's so embarrassing, and she's gonna judge me or something. They're not judging you. They want to support you. So find a great lactation specialist who wants what you want, and don't be afraid to go as often as you need. My next piece of advice is just to persevere. Be really patient with yourself, with your baby. Nursing is something that you both have to learn. I genuinely feel like at 4 months, it's now easy to nurse. 4 months, you guys. That's a long time to not know what we're doing, but persevere. Be really patient with yourself because you will get there. But be patient with yourself and ask for help anytime that you need it. And my last piece of advice is don't be discouraged with your weight loss journey. For some women, nursing is just what sheds the weight off for them, and it's awesome. I hear this all the time. Oh, just keep nursing. Like, the nursing is what's going to help you lose the weight. It's awesome. That's not always the case, you guys. Literally, your hormones are telling your body to keep the fat stored so that you can produce milk for your child. So sometimes you lose the weight very easily. For me, I have not lost the weight easily. I gained about 40 pounds in my pregnancy, and I've only lost 10 pounds of that since giving birth. That's really hard. And honestly, over the last 4 months, I've had to persevere through that and work through my own insecurities and accept that I am a living sacrifice for my daughter and for Jesus, and my body now comes second to hers. And that's completely fine with me, but it's taken me a while to accept that my weight loss journey is not going to be as fast as I had hoped for it to be. This is with me exercising regularly, eating right, and nursing. It's just harder for some women. So if you're not down to your pre-pregnancy weight by 3 months, don't be hard on yourself. I am nowhere near my goal, and that's okay. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with your body. You literally just created a human life. So give yourself time and give yourself a lot of grace. So that is my breastfeeding journey story, as well as some advice and tips that I would give to any mom who is breastfeeding right now, or attempting to, maybe preparing to. Maybe you just hope to someday have kids and want to kind of know what to expect with breastfeeding. This is my story. It is not all rainbows and butterflies. Breastfeeding can be very, very challenging, but persevere. It's totally worth it. Remember that you are not alone. So far, I feel like motherhood is just jumping from one hurdle to the next. So be patient with yourself. Know that you're not alone in this. You're not the only one who's struggling with breastfeeding. There's so many moms who want it, and it's hard. So give yourself grace, give yourself time. Now that breastfeeding seems to be kind of coming to a close on the difficulty aspect, praise the Lord, next is sleep training. I'm not really excited about it at all, but I think I might kind of invite you guys into that process with us and see how it goes. I really just wanted to invite you guys into this process with me because it has been so challenging. I had a lot of nights where I just cried myself to sleep, or I cried as I was trying to nurse her, and just there was a lot of sadness, honestly, for me around it because it was not going the way that I'd hoped it would. Over the last 4 months, there have been multiple nights where I cried myself to sleep. I cried as I was frustrated and trying to get her to latch, and she wouldn't, and I wasn't producing the milk, and she seemed hungry, and we were doing everything we could do. There were so many times that I just felt so sad and would cry and had to really work through those emotions with God. Postpartum is such a vulnerable and challenging time, and when nursing doesn't go according to plan, that just makes the time extra stressful and difficult. So if you are currently trying to breastfeed and it's not going according to plan, please don't feel ashamed. Don't feel alone. You're so supported. You are so loved, mama. I'm with you. You are not alone on this journey. Please let me know in a comment down below your favorite piece of nursing advice, or maybe share a little bit about your breastfeeding journey. I would love to hear. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button down below, as well as the little notification bell. That will tell you anytime I post a new video, and it doesn't cost you a thing. As well as sharing this video on any of your social media platforms. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching. See you next time.